Hi, this is Purple Grey Knits. I'm Ali. Today I'm going to be talking about my quarter 3 stash busting wrap up and some goals for quarter 4. Let's just start and say that this whole year, while I've been finishing projects and using yarn, still been purchasing yarn, and so no real stash busting has occurred. And I don't think it's going to by the end of the year at this point. So going into quarter 4, this is a lot more about setting myself up for success in 2026 and less about stressing myself out and trying to push myself to stash bust things and finish things when I really don't have the time. I talked about in a couple of videos now that I've started a new full-time job, really enjoying it. Things are going great, but I do not have a whole lot of time, especially going into Christmas, which has already started. So yeah, I plan on using these last 3 months of the year to plan and set myself up and organize things so that next year I can actually do some stash busting and kind of, finish some whips, take this down a little bit. So I want to briefly talk about where I'm sitting right now with my totals and the goals that I set for last quarter, and then we'll talk a little bit about those plans for quarter 4. So in June, which is when I did my quarter 2 wrap up, I was sitting at 17,608 grams, which was 352.16 50-gram balls. I had planned to use or destash 800 grams or 16 balls. That didn't happen. That didn't even happen a little bit, which we'll talk about in a second. I also wanted to make no new yarn purchases for July or August, which didn't happen. I bought some things in, was it July? Was it August? I don't know. I bought some things early. I haven't bought any yarn since, which is something. But I did buy some yarn early at a little yarn market. I also wanted to finish 3 projects. I finished 2. I consider that a win. And I also wanted to film a whip parade at the end of August, which I did do. So I kind of slightly worked on each goal except for that destashing one. As of the end of September, my stash is sitting at 17,532 grams, which is 350.64 50-gram balls. So this is 76 grams or 1.52 balls lower than at the start of June, which is something. That's, it's not higher. We'll take it. It's a win. But it is obviously nowhere near that 800 grams that I wanted to use. As I said, shifting from the focus, which wasn't even really a focus, of stash busting and working on getting some of those things kind of prepared for myself. So I have a couple of ideas of how I'm going to do this. But I'm going to be thinking more about my goals and working out how to make things work for me next year. Within the next 3 months. But a couple of the major things I want to do is I want to knit at least 2 rows on every current whip that I have, just so I am picking each of them up and I'm doing something on them, and hopefully, I pick them up. That's the hardest part, right? Is picking them up again. I pick them up. Hopefully I'm like, I'm really enjoying this, and then I knit more. But at least 2 rows on every whip. I also want to recount my yarn totals, which probably be towards the end of December, just to make sure that I have all of the right numbers, so that I know going into 2026 that yes, this is how much I have. Kind of terrified for this to be like ridiculously higher. I feel like I've missed a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know, but better to know what the number is from the start than put it off and halfway through the year think that I've made all this great progress and then I haven't. So that, I also want to do some sort of streamlining for processes. I found one thing that really stops me from starting projects or working on them is having to wind yarn. I really hate winding yarn. I have a winder, but I don't have a Swift, so it always just goes terribly, and it ends up being like something that takes me a few days at least, if not longer. So that's not really a fun experience. So I want to think about the projects, think about the whips that I currently have, think about the things I want to start, and I want to actually make sure that I have that yarn ready to go so that I can just keep moving with the, I guess, getting into that like, that flow, that knitting flow, and then I don't have to stop and wind yarn and then have to, do a whole thing. And the last one I have is that I want to just have fun, which I keep putting this as a goal, just to like enjoy knitting, because this is a hobby. This is something I do to relax and to have fun and enjoy myself. And so I want to do that. I just want to have fun. And this season, this quarter, I guess, specifically, I want to do a Christmas Eve and a New Year's Eve cast on, because I've done that the last 2 years, which is when I started knitting seriously, I guess. And I actually really enjoyed that. There's something fun about starting a project on those nights and just enjoying them. Funnily enough, I think I've actually finished, out of those 4 projects, I think I actually finished 2 of them. I'm sorry if you can hear whatever my neighbor is doing. They work in construction, I think. They're tradies. And so there's always noise. Anyway, with that said, and that going on out there, I'm gonna leave this video here today. I'd love to hear what your goals are for the end of the year. I'd love to hear also if you're planning on doing any Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve cast-ons and what you have planned. I'm really looking forward to that. Otherwise, I will catch you all next month with my October stash busting, which may or may not be my last stash busting vlog for the year, because I don't know how much is going to get done in November and December, but I'm working through it, so we'll see. But I will see you all then. Bye.